We're joined today by St. Joe's cross country head coach Ray Putnam after his first year at the helm for the Monks. Coach Putnam, well, let's talk about the women's team first here today. First year head coach coming into the program. I know you have a passion for the sport. Certainly shows through in your coaching philosophies and styles. Talk about your first year going in, your expectations, and how you thought it went overall.
Well, I was the third coach in 3 years, so I knew that the situation was going to be difficult, at least, because the athletes had to go through 3 distinctly different philosophies of training in 3 different years, which isn't really great for an athlete to be changing up their training, actually radically 3 years in a row. And they were a low mileage program when I got here. I'm not a low mileage guy, but I'm not a high mileage guy. I'm kind of with women running a 5K. I'd like to see them at least around 56 miles a week. Prefer the mileage to be higher for the more elite runners, but where the runners were at a much lower mileage last year, I had to slowly, gradually move that mileage up. And they were used to running each race competitively, and they had a focus on each race, like each race was important. My philosophy is we run through the initial races, focusing on the championship season, focusing on the GNAC championships this year, because the team was really more a GNAC quality team. They weren't really at the stage this year where they were ready to move on the national level, so we focused our peak cycle on the GNACs. During the regular season, we were very close to Johnson & Wheels. We gave them a pretty good fight in our home meet. In the conference championships, there was a bit of a stir at the beginning of the race. Not all the teams were on the line when the gun went off, and our young women were, it was a young team, and it really kind of upset their rhythm that day. So I believe that we could have been right there. I believe that the team showed early in the year that they were very close. I think Johnson & Wheels was definitely the better team this year. They definitely would have won the championship, but I think we would have been closer. They were a very good team, very well coached. We did have Amber Dostie win the conference championship. She was GNAC Runner of the Year, and she was also GNAC Rookie of the Year. And she also had the highest finish in the ECACs in St. Joseph's history, finishing 11th. So that was a highlight. I think what we've done this year is we've worked out the bugs. The athletes know who I am, they know what to expect, and they know what my philosophy is and how we're going to run and what our focuses are going to be. It took a while for them to buy into it, but I believe that the majority of the athletes have now bought into it. The recruited athletes coming in know the philosophy coming in. So I think it was a good year for the team to basically get to know me, for me to get to know them, and to develop structure is really where we're at.
Now talk about, you said the different training philosophies. I know talking to you early in the season about how you were kind of just driving them pretty hard and running hills and things like that. How was that different for these athletes, and just kind of talk about your training philosophy a little bit preseason?
Well, I didn't drive them as hard as I wanted to because they weren't ready for it. I had to build them up to it. I think the highest we probably got up to was around 40 to 44 miles a week. Amber was higher than that because she came in at a higher level and was more capable of higher mileage, whereas the rest of the athletes had never experienced higher miles. So I was able to get her into the high 40s. So we never really hit the kind of mileage that I wanted to hit. We didn't hit the hills as hard as I would like to have hit them, but we did get a good introductory course into what we're going to be doing. So the philosophy is based on we have 1 day a week where we do a VO2 max workout. We do 1 day a week where we do a hill workout that's based on Billy Squire, who is an Olympic class coach, coached Alberto Salazar and Bill Rogers. Very good hill workout. It's a strength-based, speed-based workout that is really good for injury prevention. We do a lot of fartleks, and we do a lot of interval training. My philosophy is a little different with a 5K than a lot of coaches. I believe in a long warm-up and a long cool-down. I like to break the workout in a 5K into 3 5K segments. Warm-up is a 5K. The workout's going to be, some days the workout's shorter, like when we do the what I call the Malo workout, which is the Billy Squire workout. That's going to be a shorter day, and then the cool-down is going to be 3 miles. So trying to really work the muscle memory to be able to run that 5K. But doing that, you still need to do long distance, so you have to have days where you go long. So we try to get in a couple of days where you're going long. This year, long was probably, the longest was probably 8 to 9 miles. I'm hoping to get that mileage up a little bit this year to get a little bit of a longer run in.
Every course is different, certainly. Which courses would you rank to be some of the tougher ones? I know some of the times bear out. Like the GNAC Championship last year was at Franklin Park in Boston. There's some faster times there. Just kind of talk about the courses.
Franklin Park is a moderate course. It's not a real tough course. It was muddier this year, so it was a little slower than it normally would be. But
had a lot of mud last year, and a lot of meets that were rainy.
Yeah. So when I was running, Franklin Park was considered the fastest course around. Everybody PR'd on Franklin Park. Everybody PR'd there. It's not as quick now, and I think that's because the courses are easier now than they were then. Our course is considered one of the tougher courses. But I ran courses when I was in college where we went up ski slopes. And you don't see too many of those kind of courses now. Those are really tough courses. The old USM course, the Bailey course, was probably the toughest course in New England, but that course had to be retired because of the buildings they built and got right in the middle of where the course was. So a lot of the real tough courses have been retired because of colleges growing.
Yeah.
Our course now is probably the best course in New England, and I would say I consider it moderately tough, but the times on it say different because fast runners don't run fast here. It's deceptively slow, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of winding hills. So you lose your momentum on the turns, and then you hit the hill with no momentum. If you don't run the course properly and don't drive your arms properly on the turns, you lose your momentum when you hit the hill, and it slows you right down.
Of course, Amber ran a 2010 this year in the Run Monks Invitational, the annual meet here at St. Joe's, and that was the fastest time by any runner in about 5 years. So certainly proves to be a difficult course for those that aren't used to it.
It's a difficult course even for the ones that are used to it. I worked them really hard on what they call Monk's Misery, which I call Baby Monk's Bum. And I remember the first day of practice, I had them run it 8 times, and they were ready to kill me. Because I think it's important that if there's a part of your course that your team is afraid of, to just keep shoving it down their throat until they're no longer afraid of it.
Right.
Because there should be no part of your course that intimidates you.
Absolutely. Now talk about the composition of your team. Last year, obviously some leadership there with Rachel Sevigny, who was an all-around terrific person, and went through some difficult things health-wise during her career, but certainly was a great leader. And what you might have coming back this year that you expect to see improvement from certain individuals, and maybe the incoming class and what you think about that group.
Well, Rachel was a great help when I first got here. The campus was closed because I started in mid to late May last year, so she was the only one on campus because she worked here on campus, and she helped me get in touch with all the athletes. She showed me around, she showed me the course. She was a great help, and she captained the team with Ashley Condon, and the two of them, I think both of them struggled a little bit to get used to the coaching, but I feel like we had a good, well-rounded relationship by the end of the year, both understanding what I was doing. But Rachel was a big help, really, especially when I first got here, really helping me know who the athletes were, get me their contacts, help me get in
Right.
touch with everybody. She was a great help. Ashley, of course, is returning. She's going to be a senior this year. She's a great student athlete. She improved her time a great deal last year. She took more than a minute off of her time from the previous year.
Her times have improved drastically over her career here.
And she still has not reached her potential. She's capable of being very, very fast. I tell her the only thing keeping her from being a real star in the GNAX is her knowing that she can be a star. That's it. As soon as she realizes that she can be one of those top echelon runners, she's going to be. But we have our entire top 7 returning. We had 11 women on the team last year. We have 9 returning. So that is really good. That's,
right.
When you're returning your top 7 and you're returning 9 of your 11, that gives you a very strong point. And we have 6 recruits coming in, and the 6 recruits that we have coming in would have all been on varsity last year. So it's going to be very competitive for those top 7 spots to be on varsity this year. I can see that there's going to be, you're not going to have anybody in a spot this year that isn't competing with somebody for that spot.
Great. Competition certainly is a good thing to have on a team.
So even Amber, who's conference champion, has someone that's coming in to push her. And there's a person right behind her that's coming in that could possibly push her. So we could have a 3-way fight right up there in the front, and that would be very nice.
Wow.
And last year, Ashley and Sarah were fighting out for the number 2 spot. One day it would be Sarah, one day it would be Ashley. And this year we've got 3 runners coming in that will be fighting with them for that spot. So our number 2 runner from this year could be our number 7 runner, could be our number 2 runner, could be our number 1 runner. It really depends on the work they do this summer, because they're all very capable.
Right.
So if they do the work, if they believe in themselves, I can't tell you who's going to be in those 7 spots. It's really going to depend on how people mature as runners, the training they do over the summer, and the big thing about cross country is belief in oneself. You are out there in a 5K run and you're facing your inner demons.
Right.
And you're hitting a hill and that inner demon says to you, I can't do this. And it's up to you to say, yes, I can. And that your inner voice, your positive inner voice, becomes stronger than that negative voice that's telling you that you can't do something. And that inner positive voice wins out. And that's how you become a great runner.
Big news on campus of late in the academic year was that track and field, indoor and outdoor, have both been added for both male and female for this coming year as varsity NCAA sports at St. Joseph's College. What does that do for your cross-country program as far as attracting those top recruits?
Well, this year I would be talking to recruits and they would see that we didn't have track and they would say, no, thank you. I would tell them, well, there's a good chance that we're going to move to varsity status next year because we did have club status this year. And they would still no thank you, because when you're going to go to college and you're going to make a commitment to go someplace for 4 years, you want to know what you see is what you get, is how young people see things.
Right.
So I think it's going to help us move our recruitment up substantially. I can now make phone calls to track stars that are cross-country stars. It's hard to call a young woman who runs a 4:59 mile and say, we've got a young building program that you would fit in great, and I think that if we get you, we can start to look at being at a national level at running. When she says, oh, well, what will I be doing in track? And she sees its club status. You don't need any of those walls opposing you in recruiting.
Right.
So now you can say you're going to be a piece of the foundation of a building program. Your name will go down in the history books.
Right.
That's a lot better than we might have a team.
Right.
So now I can make phone calls to some of those more elite runners without having to explain that we don't have track. I think it's going to make it a lot easier.
Great. Well, Coach, anything else to add about your first year on staff here as the coach? I know you're a busy guy with the club. track and field programs on your docket for last year and trying to push that program to a place where varsity is a realistic option, and of course that came to fruition. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do it without the support of Brian Curtin and the entire athletic staff here, which is really one of the most supportive places I've ever coached. Would not have been able to do it without our assistant coach, Kurt Tebow, who probably volunteered 60% of the hours that he worked this year. He was an assistant cross-country coach, and he was here 3 times plus a week working with the track athletes.
Wow.
On his own. And we wouldn't have been able to do it without a fine graduate assistant, Erica Jessamine, who works extremely hard, is here 30 to 40 hours every week, working hard to try to make sure that all the I's were dotted, all the T's were crossed in the paperwork that we put in so we could reach varsity status. I think we have, for a young program, we're new in track, and a rebuilding program in cross-country, I think we have a fine, excellent coaching staff. Coach Jessamine and Coach Tebow are 2 of the best young coaches in Maine.
All right, great. Well, thanks for your time, Coach. Congrats on a good start to your college coaching career, and good luck this fall.
Thank you.